Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Progress. To get better at chess you will need to study tactics, study endgames, study the classics from the past and the present, and analyze your own games. This is number 7 in the series of endgames. I found another nice 3 positions for you, and this is all about the passed pawn, or more specifically the outside passed pawn, which is an important feature in the game of chess. The first position is from a very young Vasily Ivanchuk. He played the Swedish Grandmaster Hellers in the World Youth Championships on the Philippines in 1987. This is the position Ivanchuk is white, Hellers is black, and we have a pawn endgame. And it is in fact white who is winning here. But let's see how he does it, because it's not that straightforward. Yes, white has an extra pawn, but Hellers took here on the 41st move. H takes g5, and the knee-jerk reaction is bad. If Ivanchuk had just taken back that pawn and then starts running with the h-pawn, the game will be a draw. Let's have a look. King takes, h6, king b1, h7, a3, queen, and a2. And we know, or if you don't know, then you know it now, that with an a pawn or a c pawn, and the same on the other side, f and h, on the second rank versus a queen, that is a draw. The problem is that there are all sorts of stalemate possibilities in the position, and white is not able to avoid these. He cannot make progress. So after h takes g5 check, taking a pawn is not good. Ivanchuk saw that and played a winning move, king e3. The problem now is that we get a similar type of pawn race, but there will never be a stalemate because black still has the pawn on g5, and that pawn is not really dangerous. It can always be controlled by the white king. In fact, Ferdinand Hellers resigned here. Ivanchuk won this game. Let's see why he resigned. If you try the same variation, king takes a2, then h6, king b1, h7, a3, h8 queen, a2. But because of the pawn on g5, white is winning here. Black would love to get rid of that pawn, because now the stalemate traps don't work. How can white win this? Well, very simple. Queen b8 check, and then king a1. And without the pawn on g5, now the black king would be stalemated if white doesn't move the queen. But now he can play king d3, and black has a move. He has to play the g-pawn. King c2 has to play the g-pawn, and checkmate. Let's look at one other variation after king e3. If black plays g4, then it's also simple win. h6, g3, h7, g2, but that pawn is not going anywhere. King f2, all black can do is try to play for the a pawn. King takes a2, queen, and g1 queen. King takes g1 to at least get rid of the g-pawn and hope for these stalemate ideas, but after a3 the pawn is on the 3rd rank, not the 2nd rank, and that means that this is still an easily winning position for white. For example, queen c3, and now white already wins that pawn. The black king has to play king b1 and queen takes a3, and white wins. Let's go to the second one. This position arose in a game between Buthrik and Teschner, 2 German players, in Berlin in 1956. It's white to play and win, and white actually is a pawn down. Black has 6 pawns and white has 5. But again we see the motif of the outside passed pawn. White will get 2 outside passed pawns that black cannot stop both at the same time, while white can control black's passed pawns. Let's see how that goes. Here Buthrik played the only winning move, g4. And if you take that pawn, then we get f5. Of course white already has 1 passed pawn, but he's going to create a second one. After e takes f5, now white has this second passed pawn. He plays e6, and white wins. Let's look at a few variations. If you play d4 check, the king just takes, g3, and king e3, and the white king is in the square of the black passed pawn, so white is able to stop black's pawns, while black is not able to stop white's pawns. They are too far removed from each other. Let's look at one more variation after g4 and f takes g4, f5, e takes, and then e6. We just played d4 check, but let's try first g3. It doesn't make a difference. White plays e7, and d4 check does not work because of king f3. The g-pawn is on their lock and key, and white will promote on the next move. Just to show you one more variation. Let's see what happened in the game. After g4, Teschner did not take the pawn. He played d4 check. Budrich took, and then h5. Let's quickly look at f takes g4 instead. Well, then we see a similar variation. f5, e takes, e6, g3, king e3, and the king is again in the square of the pawn, and black is not able to stop both white pawns at the same time. So after king takes d4, Teschner played h5, but he had to resign 2 moves later, because after g takes f5, h4, again king e3, and white is in the square of the h-pawn. Black will not be able to promote, and white will, because he will get 2 passed pawns which are far removed from each other, and the black king will not be able to stop both of them. The last position involves the great Aaron Nimzowitsch. He was black against Stolz. It was also played in Berlin, but this time in 1928. Stolz is white, Nimzowitsch is black, and Nimzowitsch has just played f4. You might think white is better here with his connected passed pawns on the queen side, but black demonstrates that outside passed pawns are stronger. Let's have a look what happened in this game. After f4, you cannot play a5 with white, because then there is king d6, and again black is controlling the white pawns, while the white king cannot control all those black pawns. For example, g takes f4, g3, king e2, and d3 check. One of those pawns will go through, while white's pawns are not going anywhere. So again, after f4 you can also not play b6, for the same reason, king d6 and similar variations. The black king is controlling the white pawns. In the game, Stolz played g takes f4 check, and now king d6. And again, it turns out that the white pawns can be stopped, but the black pawns cannot. Of course, instead of king d6, you cannot take on f4, because then b6, g3, b7, g2, and white promotes with check and wins the game. So after g takes f4 check, Nimzowitsch found the winning move, king d6, and I show you the rest of the game. a5 was played by Stolz, g3, a6, king c7 controlling the pawns, king e2, and we've seen this move already, d3 check. White cannot stop both pawns at the same time. King takes, g2, king e4, Nimzowitsch promoted to queen, and white must have been very frustrated, ending up in this losing pawn, king and pawn endgame. He played king f5, hoping to get his pawns working, but the queen is too strong in combination with the king. Queen b6, king g5, and the black king goes over to control the f-pawn. f5, king e7, and now Stolz saw that the loss was inevitable and he resigned. I took these 3 positions from this great book, Van Perlo's Endgame Tactics. Hope you enjoyed these 3 positions and hope you found them instructive and amusing. If you liked it, please give the video a thumbs up and please subscribe to the Chess to Progress channel. Please leave a comment, and if you like the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media. You also may want to check out my Chess to Impress channel. The link is in the description box. I'm getting ready there for the Candidates Tournament 2018 and will do daily videos on each round. This is Rick for Chess to Progress. Thank you for watching.